The New Balance 1080 version 11 and the Nike Zoom X Invincible are two category-bending shoes. They're max cushion shoes that are looking to provide the versatility of a daily trainer. The 1080 version 11 is a streamlined update to the massively popular 1080 version 10 that came before it. And the Zoom X Invincible is a brand new shoe from Nike that promises to let you run more than you've ever run before while reducing the chance of injury. But which of these two shoes is the best max cushion daily trainer? It's time to put these two shoes head to head. .23 miles, 8 minutes, 42 seconds per mile on a Sunday in the New Balance 1080 version 11. And just 2 days before that on Friday, taking the Zoom X Invincible out for an 8.67 mile run, 8 minutes, 47 seconds per mile. Both of these shoes I took out on easy runs, and each of those easy runs fell on a day immediately after a hard workout. So I was going into each of these shoes looking for an easy day, but also for a recovery day as well. Now, before I give you my thoughts on each of these shoes, I do want to go over some disclosures. The Nike Zoom X Invincible was a pair of shoes that was sent to me for the purpose of review in a prior video, and the 1080 version 11 is a pair of shoes that I purchased myself. However, in neither event, no one's paying me to make this video or to include their shoe in a video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before this video goes up on YouTube. So with those disclosures out of the way, let's talk about the 1080 version 11 the Zoom X Invincible. With the 1080 version 11, you've got a wonderfully comfortable knit upper. Well, at least it's a partial knit. It's knit in the forefoot over the toe box. Very comfortable in the way it's designed, and it wraps around, ending in the New Balance Ultra Heel, which is a polarizing design for a lot of people, but this year it's definitely streamed down, a lot smaller, a lot less ultra in the Ultra Heel than it was last year. Very comfortable up top. In the midsole, we've got 30 millimeters of that Fresh Foam X midsole foam, which is a material that absorbs impact for sure, but also still has a bounciness to it, with an 8 millimeter drop giving 22 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot, making it nice and comfortable and well cushioned for those longer runs. And it comes in at a weight of just 9.3 ounces. Now, 9.3 ounces isn't that light, but for a max cushion shoe, I feel like that's quite an accomplishment. With the Zoom X Invincible, we finally got that opportunity from Nike to see what happens if you put just Zoom X foam in a midsole. We've seen the Zoom X foam in the Next Percents, the Alpha Flies, and the Vapor Flies. We've also seen it mixed with other foams like React foam in the Turbo and in the Tempo Next Percent, but this time we're getting just that wonderful, that magical Zoom X foam. And I finally have a spec sheet from Nike to give some official numbers from them. 36.6 millimeters of stack height in the heel and a 9 millimeter drop, giving 27.6 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. Although I will say that the shoe has a rocker in it, and it's a pretty prominent rocker. And for me personally, I feel like once there's a rocker in the shoe, that heel drop number becomes even less important of a kind of diagnostic or a proxy factor to me in terms of telling me what it's going to feel like in the shoe. And overall, this entire package comes in at least for the size 10 that Nike's listed, at 11.7 ounces, is making it a pretty heavy shoe. And I think for my size 9, it's somewhere right around that 11 ounce, high 10 ounce mark, making it come in quite a bit heavier than the 1080 version 11. But overall, though, I will say that running in the Nike Zoom X Invincible, it's a unique sensation where you're getting a lot of cushion without a lot of squish to it. And you are getting that nice roll through forward with that rocker that's in the shoe as well, helping to keep that gait cycle moving very fluidly. I would say that the Zoom X Invincible is the softer shoe among the two. And for a recovery day, when my feet are really beat up, it's definitely this shoe that I'm going to prefer, that I'm going to reach for. And for those recovery days, the Zoom X Invincible has what for Nike is a pretty wide platform for you to land on. So even though the midsole material that you're landing on is a pretty soft material, it does feel like there is some element of not stability, but it's not going to be squishing and mushing over. You're not going to be crashing in necessarily one side to the other because there's so much softness to it. The extra width in that platform is going to help keep that shoe kind of maintain its shape as you're going through your foot strike. The one thing that I will say about it is, I don't know if it's because of the rocker or because of the way that the people that designed the shoe wanted you to land on that Zoom X foam. I will say it's certainly a midfoot, like kind of assertive shoe. Now, if you try to run with it a little bit more on your toes, or if you're a little bit more of a forefoot striker, you're landing kind of right at the rocker. And so it feels a little bit, not jarring, but it's noticeable that you're not kind of doing exactly what the shoe kind of wants you to do or is intended to do. It really wants you to land right like kind of flat on the midfoot part of the shoe. It's a very slight difference in my foot strike that I notice that this shoe really wants me to hit, which may or may not be better for me on those recovery runs. But when I do feel like I'm doing what the shoe kind of wants and listening to that midfoot assertiveness of this shoe, I do feel like I'm getting a lot of that comfort from the Zoom X foam. And so it's a nice fluid motion. So normally when a shoe kind of fights me a little bit, I find it really obnoxious. This, I'm kind of like, oh, maybe this isn't so a bad idea. Maybe I'll kind of go along with a little bit. Definitely you want to kind of like listen to what the shoe is doing. But overall, it's something that's very easy to get along with. I do find myself at the same time very easily getting into a nice rhythm with the shoe, especially on those easy days and recovery days, and just putting on the shoes and running. My mind starts to wander and I'm almost kind of daydreaming out there on the run. And it's just a really pleasant running experience. I feel like I'm really connecting with the run and not thinking so much about like, what is this shoe doing all the time. So overall, despite the fact that sometimes, it's trying to kind of nudge me in a certain way, it's just a fantastically smooth running experience for me. Now, in contrast to the way that the Zoom X Invincible wants me to land in the midfoot and then roll forward, I feel like the 1080 version 10 is letting me run with a lot more of just a natural gait. I don't feel like it's fighting me at all. I feel like it's letting my foot hit the ground in the way that it wants to hit the ground, and it's letting me run in the way that I want to be running in it. I feel like it's very smooth, even if you're landing midfoot towards the back, towards the heel, and transitioning from that back part of the shoe all the way up through the front in a very fluid way. So it feels very smooth to run in this shoe as well. So it's not as soft as the Zoom X Invincible. So even though there's 22 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot, taking this out on the day after a hard workout where I'm looking for just a lot more comfort, I did feel like I wouldn't mind if there was a little bit more in the 1080 version 11. It seems to be at this position now where it was a max cushion shoe, and now it's kind of like the max cushion daily trainer or a more cushion daily trainer. And so it seems like it's losing a little bit of that kind of like maxness in the forefoot. And so that's something that I was missing a little bit on the run today, where I was looking for a little bit more comfort. But I think the trade-off for that is that this is a shoe that has a lot more range. And the 1080 version 10 before it did have a lot of range already in terms of the types of runs that you can do in it. I feel like now with the version 11, especially at that 9.3 ounce weight for my size 9, it's just something that you can take on pretty much all of your runs. You can take it for those long runs, you could take it for those recovery runs, and you could take it for any of those shorter runs that might have a little bit more speed where you might need to move a little bit faster. I think that 1080 version 11 is the shoe that can do it for you. Plus, you're doing it in a way that's very comfortable. I love the way that they've executed the knit in the forefoot of this shoe, and I do really enjoy the ultra heel that's back here. I know it's very polarizing, but this year they have toned it down quite a bit, and the materials that they're using are just it just really invites touching it for some reason. I enjoy just touching this ultra heel, and my foot enjoys being in the shoe in the ultra heel as well. Now, I've noted in my earlier runs that this heel back here can get a little bit loose. So for those of you who have had issues in other shoes before where like if it's loose in the heel it really bothers you, that's something that I would keep an eye out for with the 1080 version 11. It's going to take a little bit more effort making sure you're getting locked down. Maybe you're doing a runner's knot with this shoe in order to be able to do that. I haven't had to do that with my shoe, but some extra kind of like fiddling around with the lacing, making sure I'm getting it tight, seems to have resolved some of my issues with kind of that feeling of looseness in the heel. But in either event, even when I do feel it, it's only when I'm kind of walking around or just getting from inside the house out to where I'm going to be running. Once I start running, it's not something I notice. So then I'm back to just a really comfortable upper experience to match with a really comfortable and pleasant midsole running experience. So with that all being said, with a head-to-head, I always like to pick one winner. And in this situation, I'm going to be picking the Nike Zoom X Invincible because of the way that it's just so much more comfortable for me for those recovery runs. When I'm thinking about a max cushion shoe, and even in this situation, two max cushion shoes that are wanting to be not only your max cushion shoe, but also potentially your daily trainer as well. Even in that category, I'm still looking for a shoe that's going to be really suitable for my recovery runs where I'm feeling the most beat up. And so I'm willing to pay a little bit more in weight. I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of my paces for those easy runs, because on those runs, I don't care how fast or slow I'm running. I just want to be able to keep the legs moving, get that recovery in, and then also log some nice easy miles. And for that, I'm definitely going to be reaching for the Zoom X Invincible. So those are my thoughts on the 1080 version 11 versus the Zoom X Invincible. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, or if you disagree, I'd love to hear about that too. Better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream I do just about every day on YouTube, 3 p.m. Central, and we could talk about it there. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you're staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?